And you know what was funny? I didn't even think about it. I got my coffee this morning at Starbucks. Shout out to Iris. And shout out to Mrs. Bologna, who was working this morning.
Oh, Bologna.
Bologna.
Oh, yeah, Marianne?
Marianne was there.
Oh, nice.
Oh, those are my girls, man.
You say
Those are
what's
my
up?
girls. Absolutely. She goes, Botch, you're going to be late for work. The show starts in 15 minutes. I said, Marianne, don't you worry. I'll be there when the mic's hot.
Marianne, she if we gave her a microphone, she could do 4 hours.
Oh, I know.
Sports.
Oh, I can tell.
She's seen an inning or two of baseball.
I can tell. All right, let's go to our first guest of the show. We got a stacked guest list today. We usually don't do a lot of guests on the roast, but we had to get this in. We had to squeeze it in. This segment is sponsored by Go to State Lumber. Serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoToStateLumber.com. You know, you guys always call me the king of the Bay, the king of the Bay. This guy's coming from my throat, man. A little worried about this guy, Jason Dumas from Crowd 4. We got him on the line here. He's getting all the Warriors. Corey Joseph did a great sit-down with Corey Joseph when he signed with the Golden State Warriors, and I know he's on his way to Summer League for the weekend to cover the Golden State Warriors, and maybe Chris Paul will speak over the weekend as we saw the number 3 jerseys printed up yesterday at the Warriors facility. Jason Dumas back on the Morning Roast. We tried to give it a studio, but he's going to Vegas. So, studio or Vegas? Hanging out with Shasky and Bonte or Vegas? Jason, I think you made the right decision.
Well, look, I love y'all. I love coming into the studio, putting my feet up and chilling. But, yeah, Vegas is going to be fun this weekend. A lot of hoop action, some Kevin Hart action. It's going to be a good weekend.
Are you going to that party?
I'm going. That's so funny that Shams tweeted out that I'm not going to the party, but Kevin Hart has a show on Saturday that I'm planning to go to.
Okay. Bet on black as well on roulette. I turned 25 into 275 a couple weeks ago in Tahoe. You know what to do with that. But Summer League. All right, what's priority number 1 in Summer League for you, Jason? Explain to some young journalists. You're going down there. You got the camera. You got the microphone. What are you going down to Vegas to do? What do you want to get out of Summer League this season?
Well, obviously, be covering the Warriors, so I'll be doing the job first and foremost. I guess to young journalists, always make sure that your bread is buttered and you're doing the job that you're getting paid to do to the best of your abilities. Even if you have your eyes on other things, make sure you're buttering your bread first and foremost. But man, this is like the biggest NBA convention of the year. All the who's will be there, whether it's other media folks, whether it's agents, whether it's front office people, players. The access is very unique. You'll just be walking through your hotel lobby and you're liable to see anybody. So, just keep your head on a swivel and be ready to talk to people and, introduce yourself to people. And, the goal, I guess, is leaving Vegas having developed a couple relationships that you didn't have heading into Vegas in the NBA world, because it always helps during the regular season when you're trying to get something done.
Yeah, you seem to be always at the forefront of breaking news, and you always have a lot of whispers, and you're getting sources and stuff. I mean, you're a great follow on every platform. So when you heard the Chris Paul to the Warriors, what was your initial reaction?
Man, I was shocked. And, it came out of nowhere. Now, I knew the Warriors could be interested in Chris Paul, but I thought it would be in a buyout situation, not via trade. Because I was thinking, all right, Chris Paul's in Washington. I don't think he wants to be in Washington. I don't think the Wizards really want anybody over there. Doesn't want to be there because they're starting a rebuild and they just don't want those vibes. So I said, hey, in a buyout situation, would I be surprised? Not at all. He is a Steve Kerr type of player. He's someone of need in terms of his skill set. They even off the court, they kind of needed an adult in the room after some of the shenanigans last season. So the interest in Chris Paul didn't surprise me. Just the way they went about getting him, that surprised me. And it was so sudden, too. So it caught me off guard, and it caught a lot of people I talked to off guard as well.
What do you think about the reaction as we're talking to Jason Dumas from Crown 4? He's heading down to Summer League in Las Vegas for the weekend. Warriors, of course, playing tonight in Summer League against the L.A. Lakers. A lot of good stuff there to talk about with Pajinski. Of course, Trace Jackson-Davis. We got Lester Quinones coming on the show a little bit later. He's been balling well. But the reaction from Stephen Curry, I know he said some things on Instagram, social media, about Chris Paul coming in. Are you surprised that the Warrior veterans, who's had so many battles with Chris Paul, are welcoming him with open arms?
Nah, because at the end of the day, winning takes precedent over everything. So you're going to put all that other stuff aside.
Yeah.
And through all the, basketball hate that they had for Chris Paul, it was never a loss of respect. So they know what he brings to the table. They know he's going to push them. Like, I'm sure we're going to hear about Draymond and Chris Paul getting into it next year in practice, or even on the bench, see a little argument back and forth, because they're just wired the same way. And, you guys have seen it for the past decade as somebody across the bench. Like, Chris Paul is very vocal. He says what he thinks, and he's competitive. But I think it's a good competitive, obviously. I think they're going to push each other. It's like when you get a colleague that kind of makes you tighten up a little bit because he comes in and he's really good at his job, and you're like, shoot, I need to keep my minutes. I'm going to have to up my ante. So I think Chris Paul is really going to raise the ceiling for these guys just from a competitive standpoint, and I think he'll help some of the younger guys too. I know everybody's been saying it. Draymond said it on his podcast, so it's like the popular thing to say now, but I really do think he's going to be a blessing in disguise for Jonathan Kuminga just in that second unit.
How long can Dre and CP3 coexist, though? Like, in terms of their personalities? Like, they're going to butt heads at some point.
Yeah, they're going to get in an argument, but I don't think it's going to be like a Draymond Jordan Poole. Well, shoot, we hope it's not going to be something like that. But I think it's going to be just like a even Clay and Draymond butt heads a lot.
Right.
People don't realize that they bicker and argue all the time, but they have a common goal, and it's more like you and your big brother arguing. Like, you love him; it's never that deep. And you guys can argue, and then 30 minutes later, you're going to be hugging it out and joking about something else. But it's probably going to be something similar to that, because I don't know if people realize, but Draymond and Clay, they get into it every now and then, too.
For years, Jason, they've been getting into it. They butt heads a lot. I mean, I've heard some stories where Draymond's running red hot, and Clay, they're like, yo, calm down. Clay's coming to the locker room, dude. You got to chill. No, that's a good point there. The coverage of Jordan Poole. I felt like the coverage of Jordan Poole this season was unfair. I get why, all right, he struggled at times, no doubt about it. He was unplayable in the playoffs. He did average 20 playing a variety of roles, whether starting, coming off the bench, facilitating, scoring. But I thought the coverage overall and the way he's being scapegoated is very unfair. It actually makes me uncomfortable, Jason. How do you feel about the way Jordan Poole was covered and the way some of the fans and media out here in the Bay Area are talking about Jordan Poole?
Yeah, he was in a really difficult spot. I don't think people realize, how humiliating it is to get punched in the face and for the world to see it. In this era we live in, where you can't really open Instagram without seeing memes of yourself. Like, that probably took a toll on him. He's a very prideful person, so he would never acknowledge that publicly. But he's a human being. Like, you log on Instagram and you see a dozen memes every time you log in, making fun of you getting punched in the face. Like, it's going to get to you a little bit. So he had to deal with that, and then also struggle on the court. It's just a lot. And I've always been a Jordan Poole fan. I'm in the gym all the time, shooting practice before and after practice, and it's like every single time I'm there, is Jordan Poole's there. He's in that locker room, or he's on that practice court just as much as Steph. So I'm always of the opinion, someone that talented and someone who works that hard, they will be okay in the long run. They might have ebbs and flows and struggles like we saw Jordan, but at the end of the day, Jordan averaged 20 points per game. He played every game. That right there is one of the most valuable things you can have in the NBA. So I think he's going to go to Washington, and he'll probably be a top 5 scorer in the NBA. And it'll be a good thing for him that he gets a fresh start, because I know he was covered kind of weirdly, and I know people probably didn't take in the human element of what he had to go through. But at the end of the day, man, if the chemistry isn't right, it's going to be hard to win. And I honestly think the relationship between him and Steve was more of what got him traded than the relationship with him and Draymond Green. I just think he was kind of fed up with the fact that Jordan was kind of huffing and puffing that he wasn't in the right role for him. And I think that had more to do with him being moved than that punch. No, the punch didn't help, and his and Draymond's relationship wasn't great. But I think Steve was more fed up than anything.
Is Steve going to get an extension before the season starts, or is he going to do the Bob Myers and everyone's going to speculate all year long?
I think Steve will probably be renewed through Steph Curry's contract. It's funny, Draymond wanted that, and I think Steve kind of wants the same thing. Everybody wants to attach themselves to Steph. But I think something will get done next season at some point. I don't think it'll go down to the wire. You hear whispers all the time that Steve is a little burnt out, and he might just retire, and then he'll go eventually do his Team USA thing, focus on that solely. But you know, I think he'll end up re-signing with the Warriors. And, you know, you coach a person like Steph Curry, you want to ride that out until Steph is done. It would be like if Phil left Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan was done. When you get to coach somebody like that, it's such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You kind of just ride that out.
Jason Dumas, Cron, news director here with us, and also does hosting on 95.7 The Game. Jason, you obviously follow all the teams. It feels like to me, I've seen Dunleavy in 2 weeks do something more bold than Farhan Zaidi's done in 5 years. No, obviously the Warriors are champions currently, you know, they're more recently, I guess, than the San Francisco Giants. Why is the coverage so different of the two teams?
I don't know. Well, first and foremost, I guess just, you know, what have you done for me lately? The Warriors, just the way they just took the NBA by storm over the last decade. It really just captivated everybody. And like the Warriors, 15 years ago, they weren't close to the top of the list of value for sports franchises. Now they're like top 5 in the world. It's nuts. It's truly one of the most iconic sports franchises in the world, and that's not even hyperbole. So there's that, and then I don't know. You're right, Jasky. It's just the Giants. They haven't made a splash, and they're in a division with the Padres and the Dodgers, who seem to open up their checkbook any chance they get. So it's kind of off-putting from a fan's perspective. You see your two biggest rivals in the division willing to spend, and then the Giants, they're just have to be this beacon of efficiency, and they spend smart, and it's like, come on, man, this is the Bay Area. This is a market where we see homegrown stars. We see stars come here, and we just haven't seen it within that Giants organization. Now, of course, I think they got some nice young guys. Patrick Bailey he looks like a guy.
Right.
He's going to be back there for a while. A.J. Schmidt has pulled off, but he has some tools. So you can be excited about that stuff. And I know June was a great month for them. They're kind of falling back on their face a little bit here in July. But, I know we've been giving them chance after chance every summer to sign somebody, but they have a chance to open up their checkbook for Shohei this summer. Maybe next summer, maybe they can do that. But in terms of just excitement and why they're covered different, is just Warriors make bigger splashes, and the Warriors have just been more newsworthy than the Giants. I think it's simple as that.
And so do the Niners as well with the Christian McCaffrey trade. They made some bold moves as well. Jason, man, safe travels to Las Vegas. We'll be looking forward to your work. You're doing an excellent job covering the Bay Area sporting scene, man. We really appreciate it. Keep doing your thing at Crown 4, man. We'll talk soon and get you back in the studio.
I appreciate you guys. Next time I'm in the studio with y'all.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's Philly's finest. Jason Dumas here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game.